Hello, it's Dave Bradley Jones from PlayoutONE with another PlayoutONE video. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. Today we're going to look at PlayoutONE Standard, how we download the product, get it set up, input some songs, get the auto DJ working so we can generate some playlists. We'll take a look at how we set our hardware, we'll do some voice tracking, and we'll even install a virtual audio cable that can be then fed into our live stream so that people can hear what we're broadcasting. Now, before we begin, I would like to say that we have many videos on our YouTube channel. If this is the first time you're watching, please do subscribe to the channel. It is youtube.com/playoutone. That way, you'll be notified on any new videos as and when they pop up. So this is going to be a bit of a lengthy video. We do have, though, in the YouTube description, the different sections time-coded, so you can zip through to different sections if that's what you want to do. Or if you've got a coffee in hand like I have, then sit back, watch the video, and hopefully it'll become quite useful. Now, I'm going to begin by saying, what is PlayoutONE Standard? What is the difference between that and PlayoutONE Pro? Well, PlayoutONE Standard is our off-the-shelf buyout version of PlayoutONE. It's designed for home and personal use. It's not designed for broadcast. There are many features that broadcast stations would need that are not in PlayoutONE Standard, and that's why we have the different versions. Pro is very much designed for broadcast radio stations, those looking for the extra power that comes in Pro, with web voice tracking, traffic merging, and a whole host of other bits and pieces. If you do want to have a look at what the difference is, then you can simply zoom over to our website, click on the PlayoutONE text at the very top, and as you'll see here, we can click to compare Pro and Standard, and you can simply see all the different features that come within those different versions. So there we go. That's the difference between PlayoutONE Standard and Pro. How do we get Standard then? How do we download a trial to start off with? Because again, one of the differences between Standard and Pro is that Standard comes with a 20-day trial. You can trial it, you can use it as you wish before buying. With Pro, we don't offer a trial. So how do we do that? Well, simply come to the PlayoutONE page, as we are here, and we're going to click on the PlayoutONE Standard. Here we go. And if we scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, you can get the PlayoutONE trial here. Just enter your email address, enter your name, hit Get PlayoutONE, and you will be emailed a download link from where you can download the software. So I've already done that, and so let's now go and find that installation that we've just downloaded. Here it is. And I'm going to start by saying straight away, if you are running a PC that is more than 3 years old, you may not be able to install PlayoutONE Standard. PlayoutONE Standard needs at least 8 gigabytes of RAM, and it also needs Windows 10 as an operating system. We do not support anything less. Now, if you run the setup and it pops up a information box saying this cannot be run on this PC, that is the reason why. PlayoutONE Standard, whilst it is a fairly lightweight application, it does need a bit of power to make it work, and that's why you do need a machine generally within the last 3 years to get the best experience. So, to begin installing, first of all, we're going to make sure we have no Windows updates to do. This is a real important step, and we see this a lot in our support system. People fail to install Standard because it can't go through the proper procedures because there's a Windows update pending. So go check your Windows updates. I'm going to do mine now, so we'll just type in updates. Check for updates, and if you do have any updates, you need to restart your PC. Make sure those updates have installed before you come to install PlayoutONE Standard. Now, as you can see, my device is up to date, so that is fantastic. I'm going to double click and run the setup. It's quite a big setup because it has lots of other applications in here, and I'm going to give you a little heads up as to which ones to install and which ones to leave. So yes, we do want to install the suite. And I'm going to hit next to install the prerequisites. I can't say that word. Prerequisites. There we go. Generally, if you're missing any, they will be ticked here. Just go with the default and hit next. Now, if you get this message, that's absolutely fine. Your PC doesn't need it. Okay, so we've installed the prerequisites. Now we're going to move on to the actual PlayoutONE application. So I'm going to accept the license agreement and sign my house away and anything else I own to PlayoutONE. I'm going to tick the standard edition. There we go. And I'm installing on this machine, so I'm going to leave everything as it is. Make sure these 2 boxes are ticked at the bottom and hit next. Now, we do have a siren in the background, and I apologize for that, but if you've watched other videos, you'll know I live literally a stone's throw from a fire station here in Winnipeg, Canada. So I do apologize for that. We'll mute it a little bit as it gets closer because it gets very, very loud. And it stopped. Oh, that's great. So we're going to tick PlayoutONE. We're going to tick live stream. And we're also going to tick monitor. They're the 3 I'm going to install. Now, if you have a license for any of the other applications, you're going to want to install those as well. But for this demo, I'm just going to tick those 3. And I'm now going to hit install, and the install is now going to go off, download whatever else it needs, SQL Server mainly, and then it's going to run through the process. So we'll duck out for a second, and we'll speed this bit up in the post edit so that you don't have to sit and watch this downloading. Okay, so that's the setup complete. I think that lasted about 10 minutes, and it's a completely hands-off setup, so you can walk away, go do something else, put the washing on, come back, and it should be finished. So what we're going to do now is hit finish, and I'm going to minimize this, and I'm now going to run PlayoutONE from the desktop by double-clicking on the icon. And right now it's asking me to put in my email address and license code if I have one. I do not, so I'm going to hit trial. And it informs me that I now have 20 days left on my trial. Great. So off we go. One final bit we need to do, and that is just create the database. So from here, we're going to click the new SQL Server setup. And it's going to pop up a box that says it was installed. And now one final check. Note the button says finish. Only click when prompted above. So we'll wait to be prompted above to click the finish button. All right, there we go. So I'm going to click finish and now hit trial again. Still got 20 days left. And we are up and running with PlayoutONE standard. Here we go. Fantastic. There it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just reposition these windows. I'm going to just move this over here a little bit, like so. And I'm going to make the playlist a little wider. And you know what? We'll make the media finder a little wider as well. There we are. The other thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to minimize PlayoutONE for a minute. I'm going to fire up PlayoutONE monitor, as that is going to be very useful to us down the line, which I'm going to come on to at the end of this video. So I'm just going to let this fire up. And I'm also going to fire up our live stream as well. So here's our live stream. This is our internet encoder. You do not need a license for live stream if you just want to use the basic functionality, which we're going to be using today, which is to add one single internet encoder with none of the other features. But we're going to come on to that a little bit later. So I'm going to minimize that. I'm going to minimize that, and we're going to go back to PlayoutONE. So that concludes the setup. Next, we're going to look at what the different sections are within standard, and also how we add audio to our library. So first of all, let's go and take a look at what the different sections are. So we've got the media finder on the left here. This is where all our content is going to be stored, whether that be voice tracks, music, promos, production, commands. It's all going to be stored in there. Over on the right-hand side, we have the playlist window. This is where our playlist is going to be generated, either by us manually, by dragging things in, or by creating one using the Auto DJ, which we're going to come on to in just a second. At the bottom, you've got the 4 cart players. These are where the audio is going to play from. If we go to the launcher, which can be accessed by clicking the PlayoutONE logo in the top left-hand corner, this is where you can access all the other functions. So we're going to go into Auto DJ config a little bit later in this video. We can go to quick keys to bring up our quick keys, but this is where we've got our instant quick keys where we can just press them and then the audio plays. Close those for now. And we've got our settings as well, where we can adjust various different settings to create the sound we want, whether we want to change the hardware panel. So here is where we would set which device comes from player 1, 2, 3, and 4. Which device is our microphone. So I'm using my microphone at the minute. It's being picked up for the VT and record device. Various other devices in here that you probably are not going to need. Some of these are pro functions, but one that you may like is the Q pre-fade monitor. So if you have got a mixing board or a console and you've got 2 outputs on that console, you can have one for players 1 to 4 and the other for your Q and pre-fade. So every time you audition or you do a voice track, you're not going to send that out on the air. So this is where you set up your different players, how you set up your microphone for the voice tracking. And as you can see here, we have our microphone selected and the input channel as well selected. So make sure both of these are set to the same thing. So that's the hardware panel. Let's now talk about adding items to our library. Now we've got a couple of demo tracks here that we have in the system. They are courtesy of our CTO, Chris Oakley. They are 3 songs that he and his band back in the day wrote and produced. The Fog Project, Hollis as well. But I've got some others that I want to insert into the library. So you can do this via 2 ways. The first way is you can hit the plus at the top of the media finder. And from here, you can hit the folder icon and then go and select your song to import. So in my download section here, I have some songs. I'm going to choose this bonfire track. I'm going to give it an auto ID. That is the unique identifier in the system. So there can only be one number 1, one number 3, etc. You can also type in here song 1. As long as it's unique, it doesn't matter. Title, so it's Bonfire, and then Anne Joan is the artist, so we can put that in there. Like so. Everything coming into PlayoutONE has to have a type. So this is going to be a song. And then if I want to set any of the other details here, I can do. You'll notice that in the media finder, we have a number of markers, which are these items here. The real crucial ones that we care about is the extra. And you can see that the extra has been set automatically, and that's that red line at the end there. That is where the next song is going to play in the playlist. If I want to audition that, I can just click back here. And I can keep clicking Q. So I'm happy with that. If I wanted to change it, I can use the nudge buttons here, or if I click back, there, then I can do that as well. The other one is the intro. So if we click back to the front, do we have an intro on this song? I think it's an instrumental track, so the whole thing's the intro. I'm going to set the intro here, though. Oh, I missed it. Look at that. Just missed it. There we go. That'll do. So when you're happy, you can hit save. And it jumps into your media finder here. So if I drag that into a player now, you'll see we get the yellow bar, which is counting us down to the intro. And then when we're ready to go to the main bit of the song, that's going to turn into the green bar. Like so. So that's how the markers work. Let's talk about bulk adding items now, shall we? So to do that, we are going to click the folder icon at the top of the media finder here. And I am going to add a folder of items. And that's going to be my songs folder that I downloaded earlier that resides in my downloads folder. So I click that and it cycles through and says, hey, these are all the songs in here that you want to bring into the database. I'm going to tick normalize because I want them all to be normalized as they come in. And I'm now going to click import files. We need to give it a start UID. So we already have used number 1 for bonfire. So I'm now going to hit auto and it gives me 2 as the next available number. And all these are songs. So I would recommend that you don't import mixed content in one batch because you can only select one type. So do all your songs, then do all your production, and so on and so forth. If we wanted to put all these in a certain category, we could do, but I'm going to cover that off a little bit later. So let's do this import now, and off it goes. So it's importing 1 of 15, which is Bonfire and Joni, which we did bring in before. So we may have a duplicate here that we will have to delete afterwards. And the rest are coming in now. So we'll speed up the video while it takes its time to do this. 15 songs, probably going to take me about 3 minutes to do. So we'll zoom through and then come back when these are imported. Okay, so our last song is now just importing. Unfortunately, as you've probably noticed, the songs that I chose to import for this video do not have any metadata on them. So when I refer to metadata, I mean MP3 ID3 tags, Apple tags, Wave cart chunk, basically metadata in the file that says, hey, this is the title and this is the artist. If that information does exist in the file, and most download services that you do download music from these days does contain it, then it will have it in the file, and PlayoutONE will be able to suck that in automatically. However, these did not. So what I would have to just do is go in and I would just have to split up this line here. So there's the title. There is the artist. Very, very crucial you have the artist and title in the correct fields if you want to make use of Auto DJ, as we are about to do. So, Auto DJ, let's talk about what Auto DJ is. Auto DJ allows you to say, hey, I want you to create me a playlist and I want to have an 80s song there, a 90s song there, maybe a promo after that, something else, something else, something else. You could, of course, just, if you wanted to, drag items into the playlist like so, but if you want to have it done automatically for you and you want it to follow a set template, then Auto DJ may be the way to go. So before we set up Auto DJ, we need to make sure we have categories in the system. So I'm going to go to the category manager within the launcher, and I'm going to start creating some of my categories. So I'm going to go 90s. I'm going to have 80s. And for this demo, I'm also going to have noughties as well. There are my 3 categories. There we are. Now I need to assign my songs to those categories. So I could go into each song manually and select a category like so. And you can see now that is now part of the noughties category. Or I can highlight all the songs that I want to be part of that noughties category. And if I click on the little spanner or the wrench icon, as some people refer to it, this opens up the bulk operations tab. And from here, I can say, I want all these songs to be part of the noughties category. And within a few clicks, it's all done. So I'm now going to do the same with these songs here, and I'm going to make them part of the 80s category, like so. And as I scroll down here, I'm going to say these songs are going to be part of the noughties category. So I'm going to do right-click bulk operations this time instead of clicking the icon on the toolbar. So which one were I? I was doing 80s, wasn't I? Gosh, I've got a terrible, terrible memory. I would not make a good server in a bar. I would be like, sorry, what did you order? I know you just told me 2 seconds ago, but I can't remember. Now, these songs here at the bottom, Chris's songs, I'm going to make a new specific category for these, and I'm going to call these Chris's songs. And we're going to pop these into that category like so. Okay, so we've got all our items categorized now, which is fantastic. What we can now do is go to the type manager, which is this paperclip here. And this is where we can set our basic rules. We have two rules within the Auto DJ. One is the title rotation. So how long should it be until I pick the next item that has the same title? So we've got this set as 60 minutes. And we have an artist separation rule here as well that says, how long after I've picked, for example, Fog Project, can I then pick another Fog Project item? And that is set to 120 minutes, 2 hours. I'm happy with that. I'm going to hit save. So now we have our categories in place. It's now time for us to build a auto DJ template so that instead of us having to manually drag things in every time we want a playlist, we can set up a template once and then PlayoutONE will generate that playlist when we call for it. So the way we do that is we go into the launcher and we go to the auto DJ config here. And here we have a list of all our different templates. We've got 2 in here, demo and test. I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to call it Dave. I'm going to hit save. So now we have 3, Dave, demo and test. And to add some slots into this configuration or this template, I'm going to hit this plus button here. I'm going to add a couple of slots. And now I can fill these slots with what I want. So I want a song. I'm going to choose to pick from the noughties category. Another song from the 80s category. Oh, go on, we'll have another song from the 90s. And finally, one song from Chris's songs. There we go. And then I can get rid of that slot there because we don't need it. So there's my basic playlist template. I'm also going to choose to enable this option here, which is build full profile. When you tick that, what happens is PlayoutONE will go, I need a noughties, an 80s, a 90s, and a Chris's song. And that's it. If I untick that, what it will then do when it gets to the bottom here, it will go back to the top and go, I need a noughties, an 80s, a 90s, and Chris, until there are at least 10 items on the playlist. So for this purpose, I'm just going to hit, turn this one on. So it just builds these 4 items and that's it. If you want it to constantly keep running, you'll want to uncheck that option. So every time it plays a song, it picks a new song and so on and so forth. I'm going to hit save. I'm now going to come back here and I'm going to get rid of these items from the playlist. And on the drop down here, you'll see that we have Dave has appeared. And if I turn this on, there are my 4 songs it's just picked. And we can just see on the side there, noughties, 80s, 90s, Chris's song. So there it is. So that's how you can have PlayoutONE generate you a playlist automatically based on a template that you have specified. Now you can get even cleverer with this. If we go back into the Auto DJ config and we click the calendar button here, you can have PlayoutONE pick a different template based on the date and time. So that can be very useful if you're running this as a bit of a hobby station and you want an 80s hour at 2 and a 90s hour at 1. Set them up in here. PlayoutONE will change the playlist over when that time comes. Now, we've built our playlist, which is great, but now let's talk about saving and loading a playlist. Perhaps we're working on something for the next couple of days and we're not going to complete it all in one session, so we need to save it and load it again. So here's my playlist. I'm happy with what we've got here. I'm going to turn Auto DJ off and I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose Playlist and I'm going to choose Save As. Now, when I click Save As, it's going to take me to my Playlists folder where I can now choose to save a playlist. I'm going to call this Dave's Playlist and hit Save. And you can see it's now called Dave's Playlist at the top. So if I delete all these items and now I come in and I want to work on my playlist, I can hit the load button, choose Dave's Playlist, and now I can add some more items manually. I can scroll down here and throw that in there. Maybe move that up there. And then when I'm happy, I can hit the save button at the top here and it's now saved it again. So that's great. What if I want to put a voice track in? Well, to put a voice track in, I just click where I want to put a voice track. It's going to put the voice track between Hollis and Unicorn heads. And to record a voice track, I first need to go into the settings window here, go to the hardware panel and make sure in VT and record device and the input channel, that is set to my microphone that I want to record. So for this instance, that is correct for me. So to do a voice track, I'm going to hit this little microphone button 3 times. The first time, I now hear the Hollis song. And then when I want to do a link, I just start talking. As you can see, my microphone is talking right now. To start the next song, I press the button and I'm now hearing the start of Vital Whales, Unicorn Heads. And when I'm finished, I just hit the button again. Now, that was a terrible voice track. I'm not going to put that in. Let's go do one down here instead. So I'm going to talk out of And Joan, and I'm going to talk into Time to Spare. So we hit the button. What a fantastic song that is on Radio Dave. Do you fancy another song? I think you do. Oh dear, what a great voice track. So there you go. That's how we would insert a voice track. Now we've done our voice track. I'm going to save the playlist again, so it's done. It's in the system. What now if we want to mix this down? Say we've done our show for a station that we want to send our show to every week. We now need to send this from PlayoutONE to a single file so they can import it into their system. And the way you do that is you simply right-click and you choose this Mixdown option here. And when the Mixdown box opens, now what we can do is we can choose to save our Mixdown to a location on our PC. I'm going to choose Wave. I'm saving it on the desktop as Dave's Mixdown, but I could change that if I want to be just test. And I hit Start Mixdown, and it now goes off, and it starts to collate all the items in the playlist, and then it mixes them together as we have done in the playlist. So it's as if it was being played from PlayoutONE, but it's been mixed down to one single file. And as this now goes through, it mixes the hour, and then it's going to save it. It's magic onto the desktop as one file. So if we go and have a look at that there now, there it is. There's our wave. And there it is. If I load this up using Media Player, there it is. It's all there for us. All 26 minutes of it. We can zoom through. And so that's how you mix down. Now, if you needed to mix down this playlist into separate parts, then you simply highlight the parts you want to mix down and repeat the process. And then highlight those parts, mix down, so you can mix it into separate parts. So that's how you use the Auto DJ. That's how you use the playlist. Let's just cover now, how do we actually, if we want to use this in a live scenario, how do we actually get it running? Well, the way we do that is we build our playlist, like so. And when we're ready to start it, we hit the big play button here. And when I hit the play button for the very first time, it loads the first song into the deck, into the first cart player. And then I hit play again. And we're off. I'm running. Quite like this song. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this down slightly. It's quite loud. There we go. So you can now hear me. So we're off and running. What's going to happen is when the song gets to the end, it's going to automatically run into Release Me from Hollis and so on and so forth. Now, if we wanted to do a link, we wanted to stop the playlist. There's two ways of doing it. If the item is on the playlist, you can uncheck this chain option here. So because I've unchecked the box on Hollis, when Hollis finishes, it's going to stop. Problem is, when an item goes into a player, it's no longer on the playlist. So to do it, on the current song, you see the C, the chain on the actual player? If I double click on that, that now has its chain removed, and so Bonfire is flashing at me red to say, hey, this song's going to finish. I'm going to pop it back on, and we'll zoom it on a little bit. So you can see Hollis is queued up already because it's less than 30 seconds to go. So Hollis is in the deck, and it's now going to move on automatically. Here's Hollis. There you go. Now, because we took the chain off, if you remember, Hollis is flashing red again to tell me it's going to stop. If we wanted to change that, we just double click on the chain icon in the player. We're going to leave it off though for now, and we'll fast forward this on like so. So Tokyo Boy came to an end and it stopped because that's what we wanted to do. And then when we want to start the next item, we just hit the play button and we're off and ready to go again. So that's how we get ourselves in between the songs using PlayoutONE standard. So next, the final section, we're going to cover, okay, we've got our system, but how on earth do we get it on the air? How do we send it to our Shoutcast or Icecast stream? We'll cover that in the next section. For now, I'm going to fade this off. So to get our signal from PlayoutONE to the outside world, how do we do that? Well, we're going to utilize Livestream to do that. This is our internet encoder. You will need a subscription to a Shoutcast or Icecast streaming service. We at PlayoutONE do offer that. Just go to PlayoutONE.com. Click on the App Store and you can purchase a Shoutcast or Icecast subscription. We do not cover your license fees. You'll need to make sure you are fully paid up and have the relevant licenses with your local authority so that you have the licenses to stream. But we do offer that service if you have all those licenses. If you don't, I recommend Live 365. They cover all your licenses for you, which is very nice and give you a nice, simple, easy interface to use. However, we need to get this system audio from our system to everybody else's so they can hear it. And the way that we do that, there's two ways. One, if you want to use your microphone to broadcast live with PlayoutONE, you're going to need some sort of console mixer. And I can recommend out of the gate the Rodecaster Pro or one of the wonderful Go XLR Mini or other devices. Essentially, you will plug your microphone into that mixer. You will plug PlayoutONE also into that mixer. You will go into the hardware settings here, and you will select for player 1 to 4, the Go XLR, in this case, if we were using the Go XLR. You would use the microphone. Instead of using microphone, you would use the Go XLR, the input for the Go XLR, and that's how you would voice track. Then you would come to live stream here, and in the settings, you would then use the Go XLR if it was here as the input device, and that would take the audio from PlayoutONE through the Go XLR and then back out to live stream, and that's how you would bridge those two together. Now, if you don't want to broadcast live using this microphone, you just want to have a non-stop music service, then you can use what they call a virtual cable. And to get a virtual cable, there is one place I recommend, and that place is vb-audio.com. These guys are fantastic. They are awesome guys. The app that you're going to want is a virtual audio cable. I recommend you download the VB-A&B for Windows. It is donationware, so please do make sure that you select a very fair price because these guys make some fantastic audio devices and they are absolutely wonderful. We love the guys, and I honestly recommend that you do get that. They do offer one to test, so if I download the single one here, I'm going to save this file, and this will require a restart of PlayoutONE because it's going to create a new audio device and live stream as well. So I'm going to restart those apps once we've set this up. And what we want to do is we want to extract this zip file. And you're going to find the setup x64, right click on it and choose Run as Administrator. Hit install, confirm. And now what we should have, if we close all this down, if we go look at our sound playback devices here, we have what we call a virtual cable. It's like a cable, like an XLR cable that you have one end to plug into one piece of software and then the other end plugs into the other piece of software. So if we fire back up PlayoutONE, back on our trial, and we fire up live stream, what I'm going to do in live stream, first of all, is go into the settings and I'm going to select, instead of microphone, I'm going to set the cable that we just installed. So there it is. So now you'll notice the VU meters are not working because it's listening to the cable rather than me. And then I'm going to do the same in the settings for PlayoutONE. I'm going to change it from speakers for each player and I'm going to select it to be the cable input. So now, if I just bring up a song and play it in here, you'll notice we're not hearing it now. That's because it's been routed to the cable. But guess what is hearing it? Live stream. And so now, that is now allowing us to broadcast the signal coming direct from PlayoutONE out to live stream. And that means that we can now have our signal go out over the air without the use of a mixing console, which is, you know, what a lot of people like to use because they don't want to have all the hardware in place, which is fantastic. So that's how you use a virtual cable to get PlayoutONE to live stream or another encoding service, all using a virtual cable. As I say, we recommend vb-audio.com. They are fantastic guys. Give them a great donation if you do indeed use their services. Now, finally, I did mention right at the start of the video that you should use Monitor when you're using your PlayoutONE standard. And the reason you should have Monitor open is because it does a lot of housekeeping work in the background. Yes, the database can get quite bloated. And as you add more songs, you add more playlists, that needs to be cleaned up over time. So I recommend whenever you're running PlayoutONE, have Monitor open in the background. That way, any maintenance that needs to be done can be done, and you will find that your PlayoutONE standard system is going to be running in great shape for a long period of time. So that concludes our video. Thank you very much for watching. I'm sure if you've got questions, then please do not hesitate to either go and sign up to our Facebook community group. Just search on Facebook for the PlayoutONE community group. We also have some fantastic documentation over at help.playoutone.com. And if you're still searching for the question, then you can, of course, email support@playoutone.com, where one of our support members will be only too happy to help answer your question. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel for future updates. And I hope you enjoy using PlayoutONE Standard for your project.